아니 내 당고 쉬어들라. 아. 무슨 먼저 보드에 근데 내가 라인에 당고 시작하고 아니 그것이 그게 뭐 이제 차트에 이제라는 내용을 양주 정지. 양주 정지 뭐 페이지는 제가 실시해야 되죠. 한도도의 뭐야 미간이기다 못하는 거. 그런 것들 두주 대단히 잘 사자 대가 되지 많이 제도서 말해. 알아 가버리자. 내가 근데 칼에 뭐 이제 사물이 흔들어 오는지 이제 단단히다. 근데 타로 차야지. 유다 제부 유다 게임을 되는 좋아하는 것이 다 지금 뭐만 상관까지 하고 가. 그래서 뭔가 제 클래스하고는 클래스에서 이 너무 상관없어. 그래서 뭐 이제 좀 어디 하고
So first off, here at this temple, nature environment, we call it Buddha, but we have a Tibetan nature environment. So it was established by the previous nature teacher, and there's been many great lamas who have come and given teachings, including most recently the reincarnation of nature teacher. He has been here many times to give teachings. So especially Mari and Miguel, who've been here like 50-something years. They've really put effort into making this place what it is today. It didn't just appear out of nowhere, nor did it just kind of all this happen without effort. So I commend them for their work, because really for 50-something years I don't know if I could do it myself. And so I'm also thank all the people that have helped, because they couldn't do it. Can you guys hear me okay?
Seems like the mic's going louder and louder.
Well, people said they can't hear me, so Geshe told me I should hang on to the mic.
No, it's better if it's not too close to your mouth.
Okay, I'll just do this for now.
It's good. Yeah, much better.
It's such a small room, I would think that we can hear you without it.
아무 가르쳐보려나 최신의 영혼의 부름 공양거래 최신의 영혼의 부름 성거래 이 인바디 저르지 우리고 오늘은 여러분 수티와 지로 이리시죠 최신의 제일 부름 가지고
And so most importantly, whenever there are teachings and the Dharma is being given, the motivation of the speaker and the motivation of those listening, that's very important. So that, of course, is expressed in all these verses that Jay Rinpoche or Jay Tsongkhapa has written here.
This one, she will pay the work of the Niguda Tavaso, the Kulon number of us, Niguda Tava, Erasmus University of Yeshua, Erasmus University of Yeshua, Nagum Norris. And the sharing knowledge premier and this is some of the Shishavina, beyond Norris.
So just to explain what would be a wrong motivation would be if the person who's giving the teaching is doing it for the sake of being famous, being well known, being respected and so forth, that's a wrong motivation. And, or giving the talk with expectation for receiving gifts, that's also a wrong motivation.
And she did should the Logoma Sunga, change my logo to share with us, Logoshiba, change my logo, Yana to share with us.
And then also what's being spoken and given, it should be given, the teaching should be correct, and it should be given in the right order and not all mixed up.
교니가 강로 레담된데 셴나 소노 몽고 버제체 손제 체데스 이 교니가 되마 야마메 교 니가 강론다 되마 로바셰밤 아니 니고다 잡아서 다마 니 강론지다 대소나 아니 소노 소발라 버제체 보스 버제체.
So just to repeat what would be the wrong motivations would be, or giving the teaching in a like a reverse order or in a wrong way, or giving the teaching with the wrong expectations and wrong motivation. If one does that, the speaker, then it really causes obstacles to whatever he or she's doing, and also like causing obstacles to any accumulation of merit and so forth.
근데 좀 이제 로레 인이 뭔가서 아자리아 버스만 뭔가네
Vasupanda.
It's
It's simply because of
아자리아 버스만 그래.
Vasupanda.
로레 인이 서가 돼. 그거랑 이제 뭔가는 이제 풍이 되게 많습니다. 나중에 제가 대신에 그런 사람 사이에 빠지게 돼서 그런 게 되는 바이나 근데 많이 맞는 출신이 뭐냐 그런다. 팬셈이 좀 시에
And so Jason Kappa, in his writings, he quotes some great masters of India, including Vasupanda, and basically saying the same thing, that if one gives gives a teaching of Dharma, it should be with all of the right conditions and motivations.
그래서 신의 구원이야. 구원한다지. 니의 구원이야. 뒤에도 면을 제바이나 그래도 중국에 가자다. 사마난다지 구원한다지 내가 되게 지금
So obviously the speaker needs to have a pure thought, and so do the listeners.
하는 안쪽에 주시나 다들 조링지 조자데 동반이 고 담아 동이고 담서 주스레스 이제 땡 사보다는 주자 사보다는 상무 먹다에 얘기 주자지 상무 먹다에 얘기 주자.
And so the teaching that we're about to embark on is on the nature of emptiness, and so therefore the folks who are listening, you folks who are listening, and also, as I said, the speaker, there should be a pure motivation and the circumstances for receiving this teaching.
그저 대 있어라. 저는 이제 된다 더 봐. 이제 된다 저는 이제 된다 더 봐.
And so the name of the text is called In Praise of Dependent Origination.
그냥이라 저는 이제 내가 간디지를 해서 봐이나. 저는 뭐제디 수제 된줄 인제라고 하나마. 수제 된줄 인제. 수제 된줄 인제라 밀랑가. 저는 이제 배교되지. 수제 된줄 인제라 밀랑 가르단 말이에요. 도지 지지 밀랑가. 말로 좀 다 주지를 그냥 내 인물이 다 왔어요.
Like, Jim Richie Mapeko.
마베고 로지 몰라 주지 된줄 인제라. 너 좀만가 다 주지를 그냥 어디 다 인물이 다 왔어요.
Sit down, go also Dunju Renjen.
주제.
And so, Jason, so just to give you a little background of Jason Kappa, or J. Rinpoche, he's often called, his teacher, main teacher was Trije Dunju Renjen. And before J. Rinpoche met him, Trije Dunju Renjen had some kind of prophetic dreams. And one of them was that Rinpoche.
직접 일한다.
Oh, he had a dream of the Yidam Yamataka and saying that he was going to come to see him in a year.
너 주말 제가 너 주말 다시 돼.
I'm going to come in a year to see.
아니 저는 주제들을 민민한데 가리나 산 보라게 터지 이제는 사실은 너 주말 너 가리나 상고스탄에 너 주말 될라다 부지 통하고 비와라. 부지 통으로 아지름 저 통하라. 응? 지금 저 정도에 다데 뭐지니 저 부지 이제 통받아 보라 캔. 캔도 zamani 부지야 아마도 야치래라 비자. 상마제 또 부지야 부지 하셔 상마야 부지.
So this teacher, Shri Ginger Rinchen, he didn't really know the significance of his dreaming of Yamataka. So he just wrote it down and put it on the side. And then sometime, not too soon after, Rinpoche was born. And sometime later, this young boy was brought to see Shri Ginger Rinchen, and he was asked to take care of him and keep him clean and keep him to take good care of him.
Shri Ginger Rinchen 그 제가 뭐 숨쉬는 루지 야다고 잡지 이라베네 손도 루지 거 두진 거 루지 가고
Jukden. And Peptu Mangasari. Did the Shri Ginger Rinchen Gundrima Peptu Mangasari? Losumshi. So Jiramji was about 3 or 4 when his parents brought him to see this Lama. And so he took care of him for how many years? Maybe 6 years? 6, 7 years? He taught him to read and he was taught to read and write. And then after about 7 years, this young boy was sent to Lhasa.
신자배야기 시스고 어레스 신자배야시 아무 시스고 말 라마 엄마가 유네 티워tin 지고 라마 엄마 다스 지는 신자배야는 티워tin 지고라 제르지 제라 신자배야기 제르지 카도 시스 티워tin 시스 티워tin 지고 지나요
카도
제르마다 아버지
제가
아무 라마 엄마가 비교체네 티워tin 지고라 제르지 카도 시스고
Lama Uma number country number.
Ula Petsaroa, Ula Petsa Lobson, she does a Lama Uma by Jerry, she's not a Dawa Jerry. We need that, Lobson, you don't need it.
Okay, so then, anyway, this all happened in Amdo, in the eastern part of Tibet, Amdo. And so after about 7 years or so, the Rinpoche sent Jason Kappa to central Tibet, at which time he met a Lama named Lama Umapa, and so he was able to receive teachings and direct his questions to this Lama. He also had teachings with Lama Vrindawa, so those were his 2 main teachers.
And
the jaila kachut sumare.
Lobson said, towards the Lama Unity or the Lobson Yabida around the what the bomb did the Makani, Jabea, and Kadu, says the word.
So in the beginning, when he met Lama Umapa, at that time he posed his questions to other lamas, and via them he was able to reach or speak with Lama Umapa. But after some time, because J Rinpoche is considered to be a manifestation of Manjushri, then after some time, there was a direct connection and direct communication between Manjushri and J-Sankara.
아니 자дел라 페 지금가 지금 전에 남자나 자델라 하고 있어. 자델 공자가 더구나. 그런 자델로 오래스. 지금 전에 농내지는 자델 페.
And then at one point, Manjushri directed J Rinpoche to go into retreat to do practice on his own.
아니 자델라 페가 수수로 수수 체고에 상마 지금 전에 송고 대견도 무슨 전에 다리 송고.
And Manjushri was able to, he actually gave all sorts of instructions, including who J Rinpoche should take into retreat with him, who would be his assistants and so forth.
지금 전에 가서 저는 저번에 보면 접시 동반이고 도서만 보시지. 아니 자기 저는 개방하려고. 저는 개방하고 공부도 아야 공부도 제 그velente 제 나와다가 아니 관계장 아니 봐봐라 공동하게 시에서 이름 나와.
And so during this time in retreat and meditation, Shasi, he in his dreams he had certain visions of these 5 main masters of India: Nagarjuna, Ayadeva, Chandrakirti, and Sanghya is 4, right? And then Lama Metta. And he also he had a certain the vision of Sanghya, one of the masters, placing a text on the crown of his head. And it's J Rinpoche, Lama Chiwachanan,
저는 지금 매랑 나로라 라망가지 저거 동반이 있고 저거 재미난 거.
Lama Kurangser, Nangma Chiwachanan, Yana.
그런도 나로. 매랑라 저는 지금
J Rinpoche Kurangser, Chiwachanan. Just getting the facts straight here. And so in his dreams, J Rinpoche had the dream that these 5 masters discussed and queried about the nature of the wisdom of Exodus. So these were 5 great masters of Nalanda in India. And he was, as you know, Tsongkhapa was in Tibet.
동반이 대중이 되거나 동반이 무슨도 또 총맞다 무슨도 이시 유라 총맞다.
就是捏了可以去做了啥？and they chocolate your money.
미남로. 상인 속에 권한을 배제해 봐. Tomorrow morning. Then he looking to page this book.
Okay. And then you saw that page.
동반이 또.
And so in his dream, Buddha Padita, that particular Lama had placed this text on his head. And when he woke up in the morning, he searched all the different texts that he had. And he at that time, he found the text, and he came to full realization of the meaning of emptiness.
세상에 디 제일 아니 저러면서가 동반이 또 땡중 송리기 좀받으나 믹스기 대박이네 아니 남자 된대도 쌈나.
And so once upon gaining that realization of emptiness, he immediately, he had this great respect and realization of the nature of dependent origination. And so that's when he wrote down these verses.
지금은 단다디라고 sambulim digala tinjung suni temba temba sanje mato shinda suji yo mares temba mambu yade tinjung gi tomba ni suni di temba dambe shiva sanje shaje tu mato yo mares.
So we say that this particular teaching, this particular philosophy of dependent origination or dependent arising, there's a number of terms for it. It's really, there's so many masters in the world, so many teachers, so many different philosophies, that we say that it's really Buddha Shakyamuni who gave this important teaching and explained the meaning of dependent origination.
아니 고란데 대박이는 이 삼백스 된대와 그래서
And so, because of that, he, as you can see, the name of his text is called In Praise of Dependent Origination.
어디 간데레스 라바나 된대와디 간데레스 라바나 최 계정 계정인 거 삼로당 이 삼로 이게 삼로 나로라 유몽세지로 좀 모두지 유몽 티파 내가 소리 답시 가지고
And so, I think, we should view these verses not like religious verses, not just about Dharma, but it's really, to get to the heart of it, it's really the explanation of how to eradicate the afflictions of mind.
먼저 별로 최고로 최소지 내가 보라 플러스를 용사 상무지 자간대로 자간 나노기 디노로라 제가 지원이 네 나오치지 아니 더두지 모두지 더두라 베젠 섹션 religion section 직
Religious section G,
아니 philosophy section 직
Religion,
아니 뭐지 science section 직숨
science G.
숨
And so we can actually put into the different categories of these verses, these texts. One is into the religious section, and the second is into what? Philosophy, and the third is into science.
먼저 다시 시작이 플러스에다 사이언스 번에 아니 대화도 동네 간데 시작하고 대화 간데 스토브 도나야 돼.
And so what we intend to approach, what we intend to do and to speak of is reliant on these verses. We want to explain how to go about gaining happiness and to overcome misery and problems and suffering.
동네 영석이 자와디 그게 샤스 이 시기가 됐어. 동네 영석이 자와디 아주 많은 제지가 하고 동네 영디고 돼 kodela 동네라 대화다고 가지고 먹었다. 올라다. 대화 동네라 대화다고 가. 어디 동네 영석 자와디에 나서는 부디스 필로소피다 사이언스 셰베 남샤가 셰바 이게 남샤 셰어는 그래서 남자가 세상에 양도 컴펜치는 부자지가 그렇지 뭐.
And so furthermore, it's just not just a simple explanation of gaining happiness and overcoming suffering, but really what's the source of suffering and what's the source of happiness. Often people kind of get this kind of somewhat they have a mistaken view of it. So sometimes even though there's actually what happens problems that are generated, sometimes people don't see the cause of it, and often even see that as being a kind of a place of happiness. And so that's why when we talk about Buddhism, we say it's both philosophy and also the science of how to understand the nature of mind and the cause of all these, the cause and source of all these problems.
아주 등산기 동에 세단지 출론에 동에 세게 답시 모두 나오로기 송에 강에 송에 수임에디 이게 강에 간데 세고 이메디 출로 웨스터너기 롭종토라 그때 요마 강에 간데 등산 출로 이메디 강에 간데 세고는 치 온보라 때문에 아니 치 온보다 치기가 류기 도로 야보다 아니 다이년보다 아니 수제보다 이제 톤 강에 대세에 가지던 거라 나오기 너무 또 되게디 semma 기분이야디 간데 수인도에 디도라 아니 사마디 시작한다
So often these days, if one wants to overcome certain problems, certain miseries in one's life, we look outwardly. We look at a way to bring about happiness and overcome these problems outwardly. But really, just that outward form, like say, thinking like having certain amenities in one's life, having certain comforts in one's life, clothing, and being surrounded by beautiful objects and so forth, that itself does not bring true happiness. And so we really have to look inward and not look outward and try to bring happiness by outer means.
어느 상황으로 대화 되어봐당 능에 맺어봐디 정말 하고 와라 키 눈도 이제 정말 신고 나 대화 두개 해봐당 능에 맺어봐디 정말 하고 되고 이나양 능에 세상 신기가 말이스 내 마찬가지인가 아니 능에 세게 탑 대화 주에 탑 간지 준거를 했으나 근데 지금 해서는 상기가 따뜻해 되고 philosophy of this philosophy of
And so we all know that we want to be happy, to live under pleasant circumstances, to be rid of suffering. And so even animals know that they want happiness, they want certain comforts in their life, even dogs and animals. But there's not the clear understanding and of how to bring about that happiness, how to bring about the results that one truly seeks. And there's not the method, there's not the methods that one can utilize to overcome suffering and bring about happiness. So this is where the philosophy, Buddhist philosophy, is helpful.
저는 동해당 대화 주례 시절에 중년이 강북 거라네 대화시 대시송을 대시 대화시 그래서 저랑이 공부지 대화 말다 동해에 나와서 동해 대화송 전에 뒤에 고액이 탑시 요래스 이 관련 중원에서 군조 대화송 이 고액이 탑시 요래서 남게 대화송 아니 고개 고파서 고대에서 도선 대화시 생각이 용감이 두고
So one of the first teachings, the first teaching that Buddha gave was on the Four Noble Truths. So the Four Noble Truths and the truth, even beginning with the base of the body, that this is something that, and you do, and this one has a subu, has a dendashi, and the dendashi.
만족의 대화가 동해세 세계 탑시디 동해의 대화세 삼아 되고요. 대화 되게 등에 되게 막 상마 찍어 하고 나서 되게 나와서 아니 대화 주에게 탑시디 신기해 봤다. 이 마신사에도 좀 되게 저랑이 통과지 동해에다 이 동해에 마신소나 아니 이 동해에 마신 같은 많이 봐. 이 강내 중앙에서 군중수 말에서 이 뭐에게 군중수하다 많이 봐. 이 뭐에게 탑시 열을 해서 근데 남게 된 것은 고백된 것은 도저히 손이 아니
And so with the Four Noble Truths, the Buddha began with just pointing out that having this physical body often brings complications. That having this body, it brings complications, and often it can bring suffering. And so then it's taught that what's the origin of that, what's the cause, the origin of it. And then having laid that out, explained that, then there's the path to overcome that suffering, and then to come to a cessation of suffering. So the thought here, the philosophy here, what we say is the cause of suffering is ignorance. It's like not knowing. It's like, and that goes back to also the self-grasping, the importance, the self-centeredness of the I, and grasping to that, the ignorance of it. And so the whole point, the main point of this in praise of the dependent origination is to recognize that ignorance, and particularly this self-grasping, is really the cause of all sufferings. And so if we're able to overcome that, to eradicate that, to overcome that, then we're able to reach the other side, to overcome suffering. That's really the root cause of suffering. Secular philosophy and science. And so it's not enough. Some people think that if they just sit there and recite some verses and do some practice in that way, that is practice. But truly, that's not practice. It's really watching the mind, seeing the confusion in the mind, seeing the restlessness in the mind, and to be able to calm the mind in such a way which brings about clarity and to overcome the suffering in that way. So, as I said before, Buddhism we shouldn't just think of it as being a religion. It's really, almost look at it like in a secular way. And then also to look at the philosophy of it and the science.
정발적인 연구에 나가서 너무 정발적 남자들도 요즘 동도 남자 근데 두두두 아니 말로 와서 삼는다나 아니 삼나가 보다 보니까 또 삼는 공개하고 주제가 삼을잖아 하는 것에 자와들 마셔야 쳐봐 뭐 자와들 자와 양반을 마셔야 돼 삼는 거 맞아 가든에 저기 가든에 내가 네 몸도 맞아 하고
So I think it's really important. 이게 뭔지? So it's important to note that just by doing all these recitations, that it's not enough. Just sitting there and reciting this and this and this for years, months and years. If so, we would be a lot further along spiritually and in our progress than we are. So that you really have to go in and watch your mind, see that just watch the confusion of the mind and see if you can ease that confusion. And really, that's what we mean by listening to the Dharma and then contemplating the meaning of the Dharma. And so that thought process is most important, not just like reciting things mindlessly.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. 근데 봐. 너무 내디 실롱 다음 주간에 토비였어.
강도는 승리인데,
근데 제주 모르고 와. 제주 모르고 와. 너무 모르고 와. 나 뭐도 싶어.
So we're going to start on the verses. So the long, which is the verbal transmission of these verses, I received from Ms. Hollis Dalai Lama. And as we go along, you will be receiving this movement, this verbal transmission, which is an important part of the teaching.
그다음에 저기 송도 아무거로 저거야. 강시 스시 송바이 견답도 말하는데. 여하튼 진짜로 좀 쓰지도 못하고 저무지 텐데서는 킹으로 텐데를 배대. 아마 그다 킹을 텐데 좋아마도 랑이 왜네 주바체 요마레스네. 텐데지 동이 세바 연자 텐데기 세바라 때네 이 소니게 tombadelani kujashugini sto.
So the first verse is he who speaks on the basis of seeing, this makes him a knower and teacher unexcelled. I bow to you, O conqueror, you who solve dependent origination and taught it. So just to give a brief explanation of dependent origination is that everything that exists, it arises out of an interdependence upon another. If nothing appears, nothing exists of its own accord. And it's just, so that's a very important that's an important thing to realize.
강시 스시 송바이스 좀된데 코랑기 땡중기 때 코나니 스시스 좀된데 코랑기 땡중기 동바니 스이네 코랑기 스이바나 신지 간데스 통해나 그나 본거 이거도 통해나 이들이 뭐 대도다 대대를 뭐 대대다 도도다 참아 통하나지 그냥 코랑기 송바이스 주자.
So this first verse is really offering praise to the Buddha for his seeing, his awareness of dependent origination, and seeing things as they truly exist, and then explaining it to us, explaining it. So if you look at an object like that vase that's sitting on the table, we see it in a certain way, but then also beyond that, to really explain it in its depth as to how it truly exists.
kendam tombalana mes tigiba dirwa kendam tombalana mes kembalana me tinjung tongi gi tongi tinjung to bi shi kembadi dire kemba chewa yo marisa kembalana me di kona yo marisa tinjung tongi gi kembadi kembalana me marisa.
And so further praise of dependent origination is that there's nothing, it's unexcelled. There's nothing beyond that. There's nothing that's there's nothing that's higher than that that's taught.
kembalana me je kendam tombalana me so ti tongi gi tombadi tombalana me cha desu.
And so the realization is unexcelled, and also the one who has given this teaching, the Buddha, is also unexcelled. So it's triumphant, and being able to teach, to be aware of everything as being dependent and arising, and also to teach it.
미디 야고인다 미디 컨데 이메 따지셔야지 미디 시에도 미디 자주도 면접을 따내는 미디 야고인한테 하고 미디 내가 지금 미디 자진 시험 맞으나 내가 야고 제도나 미디 야고 내가 지금 important 친구가 미디 기자 좀 마셔 담으시거든 미디 야고 되게 왔어 지나서 내가 신기 좀 된데 좀 말하나면 인간이 그랬으나 어디 내로 original 내로 가리면 캠만 하시기 싫어 송바이다 그러다 발라는 거죠.
So just in a kind of in a normal sense, if we have association with another person, if we see another person, if we have the experience of dealing with them, and we know that they're honest, that they're true, and they're sincere in all respects, then we will appreciate that person, and we can actually praise that person as being a good person. So in the Dharma sense, or in this sense, with the Buddha, with the teacher, who actually sees things, sees the nature of things as they truly exist, and then being able to explain it to us, then that's why we say that person is unexcelled, is noble, this teacher is unsurpassable.
Yeah, then 잘 키워지 송으로 잘 아자리야 이제 막 아자리야 덱나 있어 아자리야 덱나 안에다 키워라
Acharya,
덱나
Digna,
그런데 소유 대화 밀로시 제가 저도 봐봐 있어 알아보고 스마디 돈다도 가리라나 significa sono luci c'è la stessa parola c'è stato oggi 내가 개체 뭐지 그런 거 뜻에 보이나 그런 게 내가 또 진리도나 정말 내가 내려고 그런 게 이제 제초로 됐어 지난 신기 또 전에 이게 송에게 쪼지라 먼저 근데 동반이 쪼 송라 송에들 놓으면은 진짜 이제 제초로 됐어.
So there's a Acharya, an Indian Acharya, Indian master, who said something in respects to this, that if someone were to speak and teach something that's very difficult, and you come to realize that what he spoke about is true and beyond question, then you can trust him, then you can trust what he teaches later on. So this goes back to if the teacher teaches on so DJ law, because I mean, to don't call that, don't you call that similar, and then DJ law, that was from you,
맞아. 전도 쪼지라 어디를 끼고 걸려 그러고.
you got some.
진짜서. 뒤는 신을 빼디는 신. 그때 나중에 좀 되는데 그러나 이제 저 쳐야 돼 가려나 그런 게 숨게 된중에 동반이 다이렉트도 내야 돼. 나도 숨버렸어. 제가 가려네 이제 저 쳐야 돼.
So in that same respect, with the Buddha teaching on dependent origination, then once we come to accept, and after investigation, once we accept an understanding and being aware of this nature of dependent origination, we find that to be true, and if I find that to be true, then we can follow the other teachings he gives, because this is really the heart, the source of it all.
다 직순바들다 야와 땡징 대화중 스신도 받다나 되었어. 손에 저르지 가르쳐 보았으나 저르지 거는 돈이 또와 돈이 또와디 대화 시작해 보기 땡중에 대화하니 시바 델라 아니 차치기 스코스 고비고 차치기 소.
So from Tsongkhapa's side, since he's the he wrote these verses. He says, "I bow to you, O conqueror, you who saw dependent origination and time." So because he too has realized the nature the wisdom of emptiness, he is able to recognize the truth and the purity and clarity that the Buddha has, the clarity in the Buddha's teachings, and how dependent origination being the source that it was taught, and that he prostrates, he bows to the Buddha for teaching it.
제가 어제 제루진 남신치 대바치기 있나 수수수 담바리 파카리 있나 대바치기 있나 네게 숭비 가르쳐 담고 딱 먼저 남가사기로 나가게 되더라 네게 숭 가도 네 마음으로네 네 숭에 들어 담바이나 가리나 라신이 대바기에디 내고 라신이 됐는지 내주르스.
So it's important for those of us who are studying, who have the interest in this philosophy and practices, before we embark on anything further, to really investigate, really find some substance, understand what the nature and the source of those teachings are, and really do some homework. And once we understand the nature of it, and to find it to be true, then we can really accept it and practice.
아주 대바대 미존이라고는 그러지 대바대 많이 봐. 대바대 미존의 시기에서 많이 봐. 시행에 대바세 계시 모르겠어.
So it's important not just to have blind faith, just to close your eyes and just say, yes, this is all true, but really to only accept it after you've given it thought and investigated the meaning of it.
당연히 주성원에 거주고 그랬어.
And so now we're getting into the actual.
다 지금 쇼레가 니와들라.
The second verse.
쇼레가 니와 지금 그거 진이가 뒤자와 말이 돼 있어. 지금 나로라 말은 지금 시가다 가서 김밥이나 카레 지금 코아 나로라. 코아나 samsara 나로라. 맞으라 강에 뭐지? 마드신도 강에 뭐지 이거 그랬어. 뒤에야에 가르쳐야 해서 지금 그거 그래서만 내가 나시 중에 다나시 다 도바다 체를 중에 저거 미도바다 제일 중에 같이 중에 아니 대병목을 비슷한 얘기 봐. 대병목 스스로 거야기 뭐고 가리나 라 때나 라마도 봐. 다시 뭐고 담고 봐. 미도에 왜 명예에서 그러나 차반하시 법령에 동해서 어디서 뭔가 여행이 가르치려나 뒤자와 말이 그랬어. 자와도 수용으로서는 말이 붙여버렸어. 말이 봤을 때 간단했으나 당진 말을 쓰는 상도 뒤와기 용어를 했어. 미디어가 영역이 뒤자와 뒤에 쓴 거를 했을 때 필로소피 되시켜버렸지. 남쪽에서 요 말고 왜 내주도 두고 되시켜버렸어.
And so in this worldly sense, in cyclic existence, in samsaric existence, we sentient beings are exposed to many types of unwanted sufferings. So meeting with that which is not desired, not meeting with that which we want, and and then if we have certain wishes for certain material gains and so forth, not getting that and getting what we don't want, basically getting what we don't want and not getting what we want. So all of that, we say the root of that is self-grasping, is that clutching, that holding on to the self-importance, self-grasping. And so that's why this is not something which is just religious, because if you look at it, it's something, this happens to everyone in the world.
아니 소리는 되고요. 막 이게 뭐도 되어요 막다. 수지가 되어요 막. 이나 거가 신이 용돼요. 저 까마레리 교환 오로라. 수저 교환 치네. 나와게 하다기 교환 치네. 로기 교환 치네. 하는 거 경고다 이 용고가 거랑신으로. 근데 용고보디 용되게 했어. 이건 내저를 했어. 근데 동네 싸움 동네 치네 편도요 막. 이 근데서 고고도 이 가야 갖다 줘 가고 어디다 이 고아에게 답시 간도스다. 이거도 답시 제고 했어. 대마도 샘플에 제대로 그 보통 말했어.
So we all started off as a young person, and then as time goes on, we become older, and all the things, the conditions that accompany aging are not always pleasant, and it's not something that we really want. Nobody really wants to get old and have all the problems that accompany old age. And so just recognizing that it's not sufficient, it's really important to really, again, look to the source of it and see how to overcome those miseries and how to overcome it, like really from the source.
이제서 양 코알라 고라자네. 코알라 양교도 무슨 콜 양제 뭐자 양마시 양고라자도 용대 싸워대 가서 말이 벌레서. 아직 말이 벌레 도에다 답시 가려라나 강시 통리 대도 빠스. 통이 통과이나 아니 대도 그래. 그래도 그래서는 말이 벌레 도래서. 아시 통리 대도마 뒤김생기 아니 된지 대화 좀 송.
Once again, we say, for those of us who are in the cycle of life, the cycle of samsara, the cycle of existence, where there's like birth, aging, and so forth. Just like we kind of continue cycling in samsara. And so the true cause of this, the root of this is ignorance, is not knowing. It's and we're saying that the understanding, the awareness of dependent origination is what will overcome, what will cure that, what will overcome that.
죄송합니다. 양교와마지 여러 영화를 양기서 뭔가로 교와마지 영화들다 리피기 나린다 캐와도 리피기 두르면서 롱리 디송베 사지 송베는 내켜는 경우 리파랑기 리파 로직 톤 아버지 여바데 두두로레스 아니 제가 유나 게임에 유나 때문에 되고 주고요 유카리나 내가 때문에 주고요 이 대화 때문에 먼저 개발하지 여바데 당 같이 두고요 상관이야 대야 subject also is 대세가
So, there's a subject of reincarnation, the past and future lives. That's a whole another discussion. But again, you're not expected to just believe in that. It's really, and it's not really, you can't even, place alone. To really understand past and future lives, can you hear me okay? Is that okay? It's important to go back to causes and conditions. There's a cause, then there's a result. And to really see the connection between causes, conditions, and its results for the fruit.
지금 먼저 쇼레가 이 되잖아. 먼저 저렇게든지 저저 시작했어. 네.
So basically the last two lines in verse 2 is, you taught that. So the root of this is, all of this is, the ignorance, you taught that it is dependent, origination, the seeing of all which will undo this. So I think we're going to leave it here in verse 2, but I'll take some questions.
저들이 좀 동안이 있고 십자대 나와라 되겠다. 대가다. 다음에 와서 이제 두다 시에로 그다음에 도대바 지라마 도대바 선자바 오마바 코랑이 당연히 플러스 비인자 도다마라 열비서 그래서 제가 그리고 가서 기재 되는 것 같아요.
So the verses that follow get more into detail about the different schools of thought, of philosophy, of how different philosophies or different schools of thought approach this subject of emptiness. We won't do that today. There are the different schools of thought, of philosophy, Vaibhashika, Sankhatika, Chittamatra, Madhyamika. Within Madhyamika, there's another division of different schools. So that we'll kind of go over this gradually, and with some thought, and we'll go about it gradually, so we can all understand. So I'd like to leave some room at the end of each class for questions and answers to clarify any misunderstandings.
So any question? Okay, thank you.
I think everybody can hear me? Yeah, okay, good. So I think I misheard, or I really don't understand, but this goes to the introduction. And the discussion of Jason Sokapa channeling Manjustri with Mpapa, and I've heard that before, but I think I heard today that Tsongkhapa was an incarnation of Manjustri.
It's a manifestation.
And I'm just kind of confused in my mind how someone could channel his own consciousness, or I don't understand.
Jambiang is to go from Yosa. Jambiang is. Jambiang is, and the Jambiang has a Jingila, Sunya, Chusunya, Chu to Jilana, Korean, because we're some, and then Chilopne, Jingila,
당분에 잠이하는 말봐. 당분에 어떤 노생체, 로벌로미의 제, 로정체, 잠이하는 거는 로정체 말고 당분에 왜 돈이 더 들어와. 뭐에 잠이하는 거 저거지가 저거요. 당분에 뭐에 마케팅에 상계이나 그래서 로정체 거지 뭐가 상계가 아, 이제 잠이하는 시에서 기계시는 남들나네. 그러나 이제 제가 상계어도 이제 잠이하는 뭐를 상계로. 이제 저는 뭐지 잘 몰라.
So it's kind of important to see that he wasn't Manjushu in the beginning. He had a connection with Manjushu, but it was really through his studies, his perseverance, his practice, and reliance on the Dharma and teaching that he really made that direct connection with Manjushu. And so it took some time before that actualization took place.
Okay.
So in the beginning, it wasn't Manjushu, because if it were that easy, that we would all be the Buddha and Manjushu in the beginning. But then,
먼저 상황 먹은 거라 상계 먼저 년내야 보시나 먹은 거라 상계나 상계 궁화도 공봉하게 답을 다자 상계 궁화의 당신 뭐지가 상계 뭐지 내를 로서 상계 이렇게 해야 말이야 저는 상계 궁화 녀만의 요래네 저는 다다 상관계 가르치려는 이게 가가로 와 저는 녀면 맞을 다 들어와 저는 녀면 지기는 먹은 거라 상계가 이나 상계 뭐가게 뭐라 상계와 공부가야 봐. 소위 공부, 저희 공부. 내가 답에 답적이 뭐라서 가능지를 상기하네.
so, often we say that there's once we gain realization, there's actually 5 aspects of the Buddha. Like there's the 5 aggregates, form and feelings and so on. There's the 5 aggregates. So those aggregates, basically, they become the nature of the 5 Buddhas. So, Sorwa, perception,
소와 뒤지 number 10.
action, and
Feeling.
consciousness.
소와
Volition, sometimes it's translated as volition, so it's like form, feelings, perception, volition, and consciousness, those 5 aggregates. So that in turn transforms into the 5 Buddhas, the actualization of the 5 Buddhas. So we have these 5 aggregates. It's just kind of going beyond its physical form and gaining that further realization. So that takes time.
Next question.
We have one online asking, is the vastness of Tibet one of the reasons for so many different schools?
Just the vastness?
Yeah.
You mean that it's so big?
Yeah.
Verse such a gachambu is she's a deal of then as chirlo mogo yoga deacons and dealers. Chirlo chambo yinsa, chirlo mogo yinsa.
술로
Chirlo
사제지마.
Sakinima
말에 삼로단단 되게 말했어. 별에 아메리카 체에서. 내가 술로 먹으면 또
America's much bigger
그럼 집에
than Tibet.
여기 남아돌아 고라도 냠nen체네 아니 시스티가 만다고네 아니 수수기 제가 장다 만다고네 아니 수수기 주로 직수월에스 가리네 전다디 지월에스 그래서 저 정말 말 그래서 저 전주
So really, Tibet isn't that large a country if you think about other places in the world, like America. But it's really the practitioners, the teachers, the ones that gained knowledge and gained realization, right? And because of their understanding, then they gave teachings in a certain way and in a certain order. And the meaning is the same. There's just many different ways to expound on the Dharma. And so that's why there becomes, it's not different philosophies really, it's the same meaning.
Like an evolution now, evolution of philosophy within the schools.
Sure, Gurya.
그래서 이거를 진짜
Change.
저도 저래야 말이야. 저래면서 moment change 나이들 그 두수 주어를 것이 최대 거리에는 랑자를 했어. 동반이다 장주였잖아. 심지어도 동안 더지 말다게 동네 더 다기적인 대지도 상계고가 더고도 상는데 장주였으면 그 랑자를 했어. 수순 연내 지난도 못 담으라 요랬어. 고담이나 근데 내가 다시 년지 담으라 상마다 수수 상복하리 되었나 되는 내무신 부분에서
It's not so much the evolution of the philosophy, it's really the philosophy itself, that's stable. You know, like bodhicitta, the teachings on bodhicitta, on loving kindness and compassion. That's stable, that remains the same. The teaching on the emptiness, wisdom of emptiness, again, getting to the heart of it, that is stable, it's the same. It's just what is different, what is the different practitioners, the different ways the Dharma is taught. That changes, because there are so many different people, there are so many different dispositions, different needs, and different ways to explain to your disciples. And so that changes.
대바 주고 단계 이런 말을 했어. 그래서 대바 주고 그 faith, only faith not enough this time. So we need to logic support and also philosophy support. Right? We need,
He's speaking English, so just tell him.
we only pray and faith is enough, not enough. So we need very many thinkings. So we need to compassion and very peaceful, healthy need. We want, right? But this is not coming automatically. This is need to cause, one cause. So we thinking more how to improve to my healthiness, or how to improve my compassion. So just saying pray, this is not coming. It is impossible. This coming. So many pray. We Lord pray, but not coming. We same. No change now. So how do we change? We thinking to this philosophy, meditation. Only listen, no working. Listen with the thinking. So if you listen, then you go to outside, then you forget. Right? Then how do you not forget this? Then you remember more and more thinking, then you don't forget. This is Samsung. Then this thinking is right or wrong, you may so many questions come in your mind. So many questions already coming. Then you decide, oh, this is how next time question. Then question and answer very clearly. Then you do meditation, more input to your mind like this. This is a practitioner rule. How's my English? Okay, then next question. Next question have?
Emma, you have a question?
No question, then we finish.
Maybe, is there anything that you should avoid in beginning meditation, or any best practices if you're starting to want to begin that practice?
triple cycle draw. 그래서 담보 양면 제주 가래 맞춰봐. 가래 방법이야. 양은 가래 제거야. 공격은 취재.
Oh, this is very easy. You negative come from which path? 3 doors, we say 3 doors. Body, speak, mind. This all come negative from this ways. So we visual making up 3 doors: speech, body, mind, and mind. these three doors. You checking to these three doors. Is these three doors negative coming or not? If you some saying bad, this is speech negative coming, right? So this you control. This is you should make. Anyways, you pray. This is you should be making speech or ritual. So you're thinking my good mind, so helping. Anyways, you should help to another person's just like this. This is the minds you should make to virtue from mind. So your prestations, your offerings, this you offering the waters and butterflies. Anyways, you offering this is also bodies. So moving action to body. This is also making of the body for virtue. So you killed and someone. This is negative making of the body. You know, only three doors. This is very easy. You checking to three doors at any time. It's clear. And next.
Close the dedication. It's at the back. I think it's page 55, but it's at the back. Dedication, there's 4 verses. Bodhicitta is precious. May those who are not gendered and gendered. May those who have gendered.
Destroy it. May it ever grow and flourish.
As the sun
As
of
the
the
country tree,
so is that of the all the efforts whatsoever has Buddhas of the 3 realms of time, of highly praise, of fair dedication, whatever the welfare and prosperity, all loving and burden of child wisdom.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you very much.